Anurag sir watched the film and he's like, it's one of the best films I've watched in recent times. அப்படின்னா ஐயோ இவர் ஏதாவது வேறு ஏதாவது படம் பார்த்துட்டார மாதிரி இருந்துச்சு. எனக்கு என்னென்னா நான் தான் ட்ரெய்லர் தப்பாக எடிட் பண்ணியிருக்கேனா என்னன்னு புரியல. ஆக்சுவலி டெல் மீ சம்திங். எங்கள் ஸ்கூலில் வந்து when people dated, they would just not tell anyone. Hi, I'm Sanjana Ganesh and today I'm joined by Varsha Bharath. Varsha is the director of the film Bad Girl. It's a Tamil film that recently won the NETPAC Award at the International Film Festival of Rotterdam. That's a big honor. Congratulations, Varsha.
Thank you so much, Sanjana.
So I think we should perhaps start with this one important question of how this journey has been. The month since the release of the teaser has gotten quite some chatter online, but immediately after that you went to Rotterdam, and Rotterdam is clearly so much validation with the award. So what do you feel? What has the journey been like?
It's been magical actually. Teaser launch aanadukku appuram I actually joined social media just 2 days before the teaser came out, and also padatha we've been editing it for nearly 6 months. I shot the film, I started shoot for the film last May. So ivlo nala or kutti monitor la padatha paathu finally we went and saw it in a big screen with the audience. So it was quite surreal. It was me and the entire team. The actors were watching the film for the first time, the editor and I were watching it for the first time on a big screen, and it was just really exciting and surreal. And to see people who come from very very different social context, அவங்களுக்கு வந்து படம் அவ்வளோ கனெக்ட் ஆனது was very surprising for me. And so many people have reached out to me on social media and told me that they found it really relatable. They found like the pimple popping relatable, like small things like that. So that's very exciting for me.
Did you have people come up to you and speak to you immediately after?
No, I mean, I don't think I'm a celebrity yet, but like it was quite nice because na Amsterdam la land aanadukku appuram someone there was a Tamil person in Netherlands who saw me and she's like, hey, you're the filmmaker, right? And I'm like, yeah. So someone recognized me in Amsterdam. So yeah, she spoke to me and she said she really enjoyed the trailer and that she really liked my speech, and that was quite nice.
That sounds fascinating. But where does Ramya come from? Tell us a little bit about the genesis of Ramya and who this character is. It sounds fascinating to think that someone could tell the story of a young woman today. So, and just her, her life. So tell us a little bit about Ramya.
So Ramya is just this person that I have been when I grew up, and like all of my friends have been growing up. She's every girl, like one of my other options for the title actually was Adutha Veetu Pen, which is she's just like a when you're in school you think you're the only person who has the weird thoughts that you have. You think you're the only person who feels alone in the world sometimes. And then the amazing thing about growing up, especially after I turned 30, I found the vocabulary to talk to my other female friends and realize that என்னோட எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் எதுவுமே ரொம்ப யூனிக்கான எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் கிடையாது, அது எல்லாருக்குமே இருந்திருக்கு அப்படின்னு. ஸோ தட் வாஸ் த பியூட்டி ஆஃப் finding the right words to speak about everything I went through. And that's where Ramya came from. It's the fact that all of us went through this, but nobody ever thought that it was normal to go through it. And that's how Ramya was born actually. Like and that's why I picked the name Ramya, because we all know like 20 Ramyas in our lives. She's everybody. Yeah.
I think I'm really intrigued by the romance that you speak about in the teaser. So Ramya and Nalan clearly seem to have something happening, but I also understand that there's a little bit of a Yahoo Messenger, internet dating, first time experience. What was that like? Can you tell us a little bit more about how autobiographical Ramya is?
So Nalan and Ramya are one of the romances in the film. So we see the story of this girl from her 15 years of age till she turns 33. Adanala we see her life in many ages. So one of her first boyfriends, not the first person she falls in love with. She looks at some guy and she starts fantasizing about all the things she's going to do with them. In her head ஒரு பையனை பார்த்தா உடனே she'll just be like அவனோட நான் வந்து ஒரு ஸ்ப்ளெண்டர்ல வந்து ஸ்கூட்டர்ல போவேன் அந்த மாதிரிலாம். She's just someone who desperately wants a boyfriend. She sees other girls in class with boyfriends, and but she also our groupல வந்து ஒரு பையனை பத்தி சொன்னாலே சீ அப்படினு சொல்லிடுவாங்க. So she has all these thoughts in her head. Nalan is the first person who sort of reciprocates her feeling, and அவங்க ரெண்டு பேருக்குள்ளேயும் ஒரு it's the first time she finds the words to express her feelings, and she finds shockingly that he feels the exact same way, that he feels like an outsider. And so Nalan and Ramya are like, funnily enough, again a very common experience for so many of us who grew up in Chennai. At least I don't know if other cities were more progressive, but like எங்க ஸ்கூல்ல வந்து when people dated, they would just not tell anyone. Like there were at least 6-7 couples in my class, for instance, and யார்கிட்டயுமே சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க பாய்ஃப்ரெண்ட் இருக்குது அப்படிங்கிற மேட்ரு. மேபி சம் பெஸ்ட் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் இன்டிமேட் சர்க்கிள் வில் நோ, பட் இன் சம் கேசஸ் அவங்களுக்கு கூட தெரியாது. ஸோ எப்போவுமே சீக்ரெட்டாக தான் வச்சுருப்பாங்க ரிலேஷன்ஷிப்பை. ஸோ இவங்களோட ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் இஸ் ஆல்சோ லைக் தட். இட் வில் பி அ சீக்ரெட் ரிலேஷன்ஷிப், ஆஸ் மோஸ்ட் ரிலேஷன்ஷிப்ஸ் ஆர். Like a lot of my friends right now, like recently I ran into an old school friend, and she told me that she used to date this guy in class, and I'm like, what? I had no idea. Like she used to have lunch with me every day, and I was like, I had no. So it was like that. So Yahoo Messenger was such a big part of it, because school I just belong to a weird generation, என்னன்னு தெரியல. But ஆன்லைன் எல்லா பசங்களோடயும் பேசுவோம், பட் கிளாஸ்ல வந்து we don't even say hello to boys. It would be considered very weird to talk to a boy in school. ஆனால் ஆன்லைன் வந்து பயங்கர பெஸ்ட் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் மாதிரி பேசிப்போம்.
ஆமாம், it's this odd mix of taboo, but also ஆனால் கண்டிப்பாக வந்து பேசியே ஆகணும், because at some point you need like an outlet for your feelings, so that comes.
So was that the same in your school as well?
Absolutely. I also studied in a school like that, and the experience is pretty alike, except that when I told when someone asked me out again on Yahoo Messenger, I said yes, and ana அடுத்த நாள் வந்து பயம். So my mom dropped me and said, இல்ல, it's okay, you can say no அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு, and then I said, இல்ல, எனக்கு சாரி, எனக்கு பிடிக்கல அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஓடி உள்ள போனேன். So yeah, but these are the funny and like complicated layers of experience that we tend to face, I guess. So how autobiographical is her experience? We tend to see that a lot of first time directors draw from their lives. So have you drawn a lot from her? It almost sounds like an autograph female version of it. So
yeah. So I wouldn't say it's autobiographical in the sense that it's fiction, but the emotions are extremely from the heart. Like I remember that feeling of எனக்கு ஒரு boyfriend இருக்கணுமே, and like I remember yearning for love. So all of those feelings are very real. It comes from a place of experience and that sort of a thing. But no, I didn't have a boyfriend in school, unfortunately. I really wanted one. So that feeling of yearning is very real, but the incidents are fictitious. But also a lot of incidents that I have written about are things that we ஸ்கூலில் இருக்கும்போது பக்கத்து ஸ்கூலில் எப்படி நடந்துச்சு, கல்ச்சுரல்ஸ் போகும்போது கேள்விப்படுவோம். இட்ஸ் அ நெட்வொர்க், ரைட்? ஸ்கூல்ஸ் ஆர் ஆல்சோ அ நெட்வொர்க், ரைட்? அப்போ வந்து அந்த ஸ்கூலில் இப்படி நடந்துச்சுன்னு கேள்விப்பட்டோம். அண்ட் அ லாட் ஆஃப் தீஸ் திங்ஸ், எஸ்பெஷலி அபவுட் விமென், வில் பி லைஸ். Which is something Ramya, as she grows older, she'll realize that all these rumors are going on about her and everything will be a lie. So it's just really funny, and I've just tried to laugh at all the things that a lot of us went through.
I also see, of course, strains of rebellion in Ramya, right? Like outside of her own network of friends, and rebelling through romance, she's also rebelling against family, even within the friend circle. When she's told, when she's called certain things, by just being herself, she is rebelling. So what is Ramya's relationship with rebellion? And while we see a lot of it in her initial years, school la vandu theriyudhu, but what is her rebellion as an adult? Who is Ramya as an adult?
So you know, when you're a teenager, there's a lot of உள்ள ஒரு restlessness இருக்கும்ல, ஒரு unrest இருக்கும்ல. அதுதான் rebel na, you need to have a lot of clarity in thought in order to be a rebel, right? Like you need to actually think this is right, this is wrong. Growing up, she's not such a deep person. She doesn't have so much exposure also. So she's just someone who knows that she's unhappy and she's reacting. She's a reactive person. And you know, there is this stifling feeling of, she's not got like, for instance, she doesn't grow up in a particularly oppressive family. She, you know, does have parents who give her space to make all these mistakes. And, you know, it's not that, you know, she needs to rebel even. She's in a pretty good place. But that restlessness comes out in the form of anger and, you know, that feeling of, you know, I just have to have my way. So, ஒரு ஆடம் அந்த மாதிரி இதெல்லாம் தான் இருக்கும். And again, she's not like a hero in that sense. You know, she doesn't do anything out of clarity, like political clarity, or na ipdi pannano appdinu or telivodala pannala. At every given point in time, she does whatever feels right to her. And yeah.
So post all the chatter online and the debates, because you said that she's not from a particularly oppressive household, and these conversations really like built up over time. But is there a takeaway from it? You know, it's now at a distance, or masam aichu, or like 2-3 weeks now. And so, is there a distance? What have you learned from the entire conversation online about Bad Girl?
I have learned that YouTube is not a place for nuance. You know, people like to see what they want to see. And எனக்கு என்னன்னா, நான் தான் ட்ரெய்லர் தப்பாக எடிட் பண்ணியிருக்கேனா என்னன்னு புரியல. Actually, tell me something. When you saw the trailer, you could tell that it is school and she goes to college and there was 30s, right?
Absolutely.
But like everybody is like, school ponunga sarakarikka. No, like where did we even have access to all that when we were in school? Maybe the current generation does, and enakku theriyala, looks like they do, but like she doesn't do any of that stuff in school. She's a girl who eventually grows up, and you know, a certain generation has a lifestyle, and I have captured that in some places. And again, I'm not romanticizing the idea of, you know, someone having certain habits, or it's not even a competition of, oh, if men do it, women can do it too. Because I think she is someone who even talks about how she is out of breath all the time. Mootu valikidhu, ayyo, I need to take care of my health, I should stop drinking, my health is getting spoiled. All of this existential crisis that women have when they're like turning 30, they want to be more healthy, they want to be more fit. She has all of that. It's about a girl who's just like being herself and trying to get her act together. You know, so again, I wouldn't even use the word rebel, because if she's a rebel without a cause.
Yeah.
Avlola clarity illa, she's just very blah, you know.
So the takeaway has been that you...
Yeah, so YouTube la, I don't know, and also it's a teaser. So it's just meant to give you a glimpse of the film. There's just so much more to this girl than it's just a really fun, entertaining film. You know, it's just a chick flick. I have always wanted to watch chick flicks, and Tamil chick flicks abdinu or John, it's practically non-existent, right? And I really like chick flicks. So I just wanted to make a chick flick, and that's really all it is.
That sounds great. I mean, honestly, I would pay 100 times more to watch a chick flick than the RDX bombs being thrown around, and like, you know, the big guns and like, it's about time that, you know, we retire that for a little bit. I know it's entertaining enough, but if it moved away, it would be nice too. We at the Hindu write a newsletter called The Gender Agenda, and each week we try to look at gender not just from a patriarchal newsroom lens, where every serious conversation about gender tends to be about a violence statistic. Like a really violent rape, a really violent murder, a really violent domestic violence statistic. So only if these in the gamuts vandarna adha vandu gender vandu or important ana subject for conversation appdinu irukku. But we try to move away from that. I see this movie in many ways just trying to tell the story of this one person, you know, who's just trying to be. Why do you think it's hard to tell these stories? You know, why do you think there are not as many chick flicks in Tamil cinema? I think it's because there are not as many, because the entire world is, film industry is a subsect of the whole world, right? And
growing up நம்மளுக்கு வந்து தியேட்டர் போகும்போதே I'm sure you would have felt unsafe. First day night show லாம் போனா you'll feel unsafe. Your brother and your father will have to stand around you so that nobody like gropes you or something. So the theater has been a patriarchal space, and இப்போ கூட even if you have a movie with a heroine in the lead, if you go like நான் வந்து because I focus on these things a lot, நான் வந்து I look around at the theater like when there is a heroine ஓட படமா இருக்கும்ல பாப்பேன், it will be 70% women. Even in like a multiplex like Satyam, even on like a weekend, it will be mostly men. 70% men, even in a film like that. So, and I'll look at that and I'll be like, pocha, avladha ena career kadiyadu, that's a thought that I've always had. Because men mostly go to the theaters and contribute to the revenue, so they end up making films for men, about men, throwing bombs and shooting people. But having said that, again, I'm new to social media, so I don't know how to get அது எவ்வளோ represent பண்ணுது ரியாலிட்டின்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. But so many men have reached out and said they wanted to watch something really soft and really nice, and so many men have in Rotterdam after the screening, ஐயோ நாங்கள் வந்து அந்த டீசர் இதெல்லாம் பார்த்து என்னமோன்னு நினச்சோம். So many Tamil men in the Netherlands, they came up to me and they said it was really warm and soft, and they said they could relate to Ramya. And I think that's the thing about gender, we kind of miss the point, which is that a lot of these are human experiences. There are a lot of shared experiences between men and women also, right? Like feeling like a loser, feeling like a nobody, feeling like an outsider, feeling anxious about the future. And these are things that men and women feel alike. So a lot, I think this is a movie for people who like human drama, and like
that's nice to hear. You were briefly talking about a career in cinema and film, and wondering whether that would even exist. But I also know that you've worked on several film sets, including that of Vetrimaaran. What has your experience been like in this space as an AD, and then just rising up the ranks? Ipo vandu a film which is produced by someone who you worked with in the past, and also with big names like Anurag Kashyap on championing the film in some ways. So what is it like to work with these people? How has your film set experience been like?
I had so much fun working as an AD. That's the, it's the first time, because I've always felt like a little blah. School ko poven varuven. I don't know, a lot of people say they can also relate to this, which I have tried to capture in the film, hopefully it translates. But like, I just went through all the motions without really knowing anything. The first time I actually felt some kind of surge of joy was in a movie set. And I felt like this is it. நான் வந்து சினிமாக்கு தான் வரணும், படம் தான் பண்ணணும்லாம் இல்லை. I studied electronic media in MOP Vaishnav. I did that because there was no maths, physics or chemistry. I used to be a very bad student. Like very bad student, a very, very bad student. I was a really bad student. So I studied electronic media because it seemed like a very chill course. அங்கே நானே நல்ல மார்க் வாங்குவேன், அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சில்லான கோர்ஸ், because it's very interesting. You don't have to memorize anything, you just have to think and write, and I had so much fun doing that course. So appo kuda vanda I had like so many different, I've always been a words person, so like I thought advertising idva and mari nariya yosichu paathen. And
good that you didn't pick journalism then as one of the
journalism was never on the cards. It is, I didn't, I also still feel quite intimidated by journalists. A lot of my friends are journalists, and like it was never on the cards for me. But I went to college, and it just so happened that I was really shocked when Vetri sir, after watching my short film in college, which was a very embarrassing short film, இப்போ அதெல்லாம் பார்த்தா I feel like, okay, thank God I'm not that person anymore அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி இருக்கும். But somehow he was like, I asked him recently, அதை பார்த்துட்டு எப்படி நீங்கள் எந்த தைரியத்தில் என்ன ஐடியா எடுத்தீங்கன்னா, he's like, no, there was some potential that I don't know what his rationale was, but like so I had, but it's only after I started working as an AD or one schedule kulla I knew like this is what I wanted to do. And after that it was just like a really fun job. and it was the first time I felt like I could continue. And actually I also have this habit of quitting everything. I'll join some coaching class, I'll join this part class, I'll quit everything. So one of my closest friends, when I told him oh Vetrimaaran sir kitta work join panna pore iduna, he's like, oh I'll give it 1 month abdina. I was like, what abdina? Yeah unala avaroda team la survive panna mudiyadhu abdina. And I surprised myself when I survived the first month, and then the second month not only did I survive, I actually felt alive. And I had so much fun. And it's yeah, I don't think there's any other job in the world for me at this point.
What has conversation with him and Anurag Kashyap been like, you know? What have they said about the film, and what have you heard from other big people?
So எனக்கு வந்து actually Anurag sir had already read the script before I went on shoot. He was supposed to be a co-producer at that point, but somehow that didn't fall in place. Later நான் படம் பண்ணி எடிட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கும்போது he actually watched the film, and at that point we hadn't showed it to too many people. So my editor Radha and I will keep editing it. ஏதாவது ஒன்று பண்ணிகிட்டே இருப்போம், நாங்கள் டைம் இருக்குங்கிறதுனால எடிட் பண்ணிகிட்டே இருப்போம். அப்போ வந்து we could only see all the flaws. You know, when you're very close to the film, and I'm also very anxious and like self-critical person generally in life, even more so about work. So நான் ஒரு ஏடி மறிச்சா அங்கே பேக்ரவுண்ட் ஆக்ஷன் சரியில்லை, அதனாலலாம் I'll hate on a scene because you know something is not இது, அதனால it's not working. So a fresh perspective can change everything at a point like that. ஏன்னா எனக்கு வந்து எதுவுமே ஒர்க் ஆகலைங்கிற நான் ஒரு ஸ்டேட் ஆஃப் மைண்டில் இருந்தேன் படம் இது பண்ணும்போது. And then after Anurag sir watched the film, and he's like saying things like it's one of the best films I've watched in recent times அப்படின்னா, ஐயோ இவர் ஏதாவது வேறு ஏதாவது படம் பார்த்துட்டார மாதிரி இருந்துச்சு. And then he said it's a seminal film, and then I googled the word seminal. Apparently அப்படின்னா it's something that changes the course of இது. ஸோ அவர் when he said all that, I actually rather நிஜமாவே அவ்வளோ நல்லா இருக்காடி அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நாங்கள் 2 பேரும் உட்காந்து பார்த்தோம். And we actually noticed that it was a really ஸ்வீட் ஃபில்ம். யூனோ எங்களுக்கும் ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட் போயிடுச்சு. டெய்லி பார்த்துட்டே இருந்தால் ஒரு மாதிரி போர் அடிக்கும்ல படம், ஃப்ரெஷ்ஷாக எதுவும் இல்லாத மாதிரி இருந்தது. அதுக்கப்புறம் நாங்களே வந்து கொஞ்சம் தள்ளி உட்காந்து லைக் லிட்ரலி யூனோ எப்போ பாரு இப்படியே உட்காந்து எடிட் பண்ணுவோம். இங்கே இருக்கும் நாங்கள் சேர், இங்கே இருக்கும், லிட்ரலி வா பின்னாடி உட்காரலாம், நம்ம வந்து ஏடிஸாக பார்க்காம யூனோ பிகாஸ் ஷீ இஸ் ஆல்சோ ஃபேர்லி நியூ டு இது அசிஸ்டன்ட் எடிட்டர் மாதிரி ஷீல் ஆல்வேஸ் பி ஃபிக்ஸிங் திங்ஸ். ஸோ 2 பேரும் பின்னாடி உட்காந்து பார்த்தோம், அண்ட் வி saw it with fresh eyes, and we were like, oh my god, we made a good film அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீலிங் இருந்துச்சு. And Vetri sir has always believed in the content. From the time I told him the idea and he read the script, at that point he was not the producer for the film. நான் வந்து ஒரு OTT பிளாட்ஃபார்முக்கு பண்ணுறதா இருந்துச்சு. அப்போலேருந்து இது படம் ஆகிடும், நீ ஃபில்ம் மேக்கர் ஆகிடுவேன் அப்படின்னு. ஏன்னா அதுக்கு முன்னாடி நான் சொன்ன எல்லா ஸ்கிரிப்டும் ரொம்ப ஒரு மாதிரி இட் வில் பி ஹார்ட் பிரேக்கிங். Because he's obviously one of the first people I would go to if I had a script to say, hey, what do you think, right? And he's always been like, ஏதாவது விதான் வேலைக்காவதுமா, ஏதாவது நல்லதாக எழுதுங்கம்மா, அந்த மாதிரிலாம் சொல்லிகிட்டே இருப்பார். Because and looking back, when I revisit those scripts, I can see why. Because it was very wannabe. It was me trying to tell a story, as opposed to this which just flows very organically. This is a film that I feel like only I can make this film, and this is a film I should obviously make அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி. And this is not the first script I finished writing, and this is not the first, but பாக்கி எல்லாமே வந்து ஒரு ப்ராஜெக்டாக யோசித்தேன் நான். ஓ இந்த ஆக்டரை என்னால் ஆக்சஸ் பண்ண முடியும். And that's something that's very common when you're an AD and you feel like you don't have a support system if you don't come from a idu or whatever. But of course I can't complain. I'm working for a director who really like supports all of his ADs, and like we've never really felt like outsiders in that sense, simply because he's always happy to put any of us in touch with actors and producers and that sort of thing. And the culture nali I've never really felt very lost even before this project fell in place. But even outside of that, I was always trying to set up a project. ஓ இந்த ஹீரோயினுக்கு இந்த மாதிரி கதை எழுதுனா ஓகே ஆகும், அதனால நான் உட்காந்து கதை கட்டுறதுன்னு இருக்குல்ல. I was doing that. I was trying to set up a project, as opposed to you have to have a story to tell. I think I became a storyteller when this story came to me and I started writing it.
That's lovely. I have also, of course, you spoke about your editor and you said Vadi, which is so rare because you don't hear of as many technicians. I mean, as many women in cinema, it's harder to access that the term Vadi versus, even when you say director, you said yaar avanga, yaar avaru அப்படின்னு வந்து சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா? So what is it like? What was it like to have as many women on set, like in your close circle?
Actually, Radha is the only person I address that way. In my set, like actually first, இப்போ கூட ராதா இப்போ ஐம் கோட்டிங் மை செல்ஃப் அதனால அப்படி சொல்கிறேன். பட் இப்போ ராதா வந்துட்டாங்களான்னு தான் நான் கேட்பேன். ஃபார் இன்ஸ்டன்ஸ் யாராவது இருந்தாங்கன்னா ஐ ட்ரை டு கிரியேட். ஏன்னா ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் த திங்ஸ், ரைட்? இட்ஸ் ஜஸ்ட் அ ஸ்மால் பெட் பீவ். இட் டசன்ட் கம் ஃப்ரம் அ place of intense idu of this is my kolgai or something like that. But like in the industry, people don't even address women as ava iva. It's adu idu. அந்த பொண்ணு சொல்லுச்சு, அந்த பாப்பா வந்துச்சு, அது போச்சு, that sort of a thing, which is something that would so when my AD team was formed and ellarume there was no ma'am sir culture except for like really senior people like whatever. Anjali was also a very chill person that way. She didn't expect any of the ADs to call her ma'am, which is by the way an expectation like in a lot of teams, anna marila alla. Shanti Priya ma'am, we call her SP ma'am. SP ma'am because she's very senior and out of respect we called her ma'am. But generally it's like very like laid back. The set was very like chilled out. Everybody is neenga vaanga ponga. These are very petty things to even talk about, but for me it was important that nobody in my team, especially the ADs, the girls, weren't addressed in a disrespectful manner. That is something I wanted for my AD team.
What is it like to work with as many women on set for you? Was it intentional? And could you talk about Anjali and SP ma'am as you had said?
It was very conscious decision to work with a lot of women, especially because I found that they were way more excited about the film. Like even all of the boys that I spoke to they found it really funny, and like my first and my second DOPs, Jaggi and Prince, both of them were like, oh, this is funny. Like they were reacting really well, but the kind of involvement and connect that came to women was just at another level. So it was definitely intentional. We had a makeup artist, Pavna, who's just so talented. She's just so talented. Shruti Manjari, the stylist, she's so young and so early in her career, but she has such a her eye, like she has a vision, and it's so rare to find someone so driven at such a young age, and she would really fight to have her vision translate on screen. She won't just like do bare minimum andha madri. And like Anjali was just really, she's just someone who likes watching chick flicks. She was someone from the first meeting who believed in the content, and like same with SP ma'am. Like all of these women really believed in the story, and they came with the idea of let's make this work, and that energy was great. Radha, my editor, my trailer editor Madhu, it was my EP Vikram who found her through Ranjini Ramesh, who edited another promo for me, and generally all things like VFX I can just call her up. So apart from the official crew, there are just so many people behind the scenes that I can just call anytime, any day, in the middle of the night, and they just help, and because they find the content really exciting, and they're very invested in this film. And so many people have just like unofficial team, official team abdingrada tandi, like they just made this their own film. I don't at all, it does take a village to raise a baby, right? And I feel like a lot of women helped me make this baby, and it was so much fun working with a lot of women, because it's one thing to also, especially with Anjali, like the fact that she's also someone who thinks about these things a lot really helped me. When I was shooting the school portions, right, I could just like ஒரு ஷார்ட் எடுத்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் வந்து, hey, is this like we want to talk about a woman, her sexuality, her feelings, a young girl, a minor girl, but at the same time we don't want it to be like, you know,
Sexualized,
pornographic.
yeah.
We don't want it to be like something that will excite men, right? That was not the intention. It's like talking about her reality, which is something all of us have gone through. ரொம்ப இயல்பான விஷயம் அது எல்லாருக்குமே நடக்கிறது. It's just hormones and the confusion because you don't have the vocabulary to talk about these things at that age. So அஞ்சலி கிட்ட வந்து, hey, do you think we should do it this way, that way அப்படின்ட்டு அப்போ வந்து she's like, no, I don't find anything wrong with this, இது வந்து மேல் கேசியா இல்லை அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் I'll be like, okay, சேஃப்டிக்கு இந்த டேக்கோ எடுத்துக்கலாம். You know, she was such a sport because sometimes I would just be really confused because it has happened that like I'll shoot something and then it will be really off in the edit. அதனால வந்து சேஃப்டிக்கு நிறைய டேக்ஸ் பண்ணுவோம் and she would do the whole thing in a different angle if I chose to do it, or in a different costume if I chose to do it, because we were very particular about not getting some things wrong, and we didn't want women to be uncomfortable while watching the film, you know. சில விஷயத்துல discomfort is good, it's healthy, you know, but in a lot of things we need to feel safe while watching the film, which is what we've tried to achieve. And I don't think that would have happened if I didn't have a crew with so many women. It was a safe space for us to work in that environment.
What kind of films have led to you getting to this point? Have you watched a lot of other kind of films in the same genre, or you know, perhaps even other directors that you've really emulated who have made films like this? What sort of inspiration has served this movie?
Just like any other AD or a film student who's trying to make their own film, எல்லா மாதிரியான படங்களுமே பார்ப்போம், and especially a lot of world movies, and you know, reading a lot of classics and watching a lot of classics and that sort of a thing. But I had a pretty drastic change in my movie watching pattern around lockdown, because movie watching was no longer a communal activity. So you were just watching whatever you wanted. So you were no longer watching it with other people even, and like I realized I only liked watching rom-coms, chick flicks, human dramas. I really didn't like hero films anymore, and that's very shocking for me because growing up I was like this Ajit fan, and like, you know, first day first show, I was just like a bro like anybody else, you know, growing up, because in Chennai that's just who you can be, right? But around lockdown my movie watching taste really changed, and I realized even in like world cinema I naturally gravitated towards a certain genre, a certain gaze, and I really liked soft films, engaging films, entertaining films, but really soft films. So that just led to me writing this script and becoming this person. But I do have other stories in very different genres, very different milieus. So I have like, yeah.
Do you want to name a couple of them? Perhaps some in Tamil also that you've seen and grown up or like liked watching.
I'm a huge fan of Agnes Varda and her movies. Off the top of my head, that's one filmmaker I can think of. I really like Sofia Coppola, and I realize I'm naming women mostly, but again, it's not that I love Asghar Farhadi. He's one of my favorite. Like, it's very hard to name favorite films, but like a separation would be up there for me in terms of writing. So I really like movies about like goodness and life and death and stuff that I spend a lot of time thinking about. I really like movies like that. So yeah, these are some movies that I would keep going back to and rewatching, and yeah.
Right. I have two definitions to ask you, only because it's come up in conversation so much. One is, who is a bad girl? And the second is, what is a chick flick? You know, if you could break these two down, because both of them are seen in a certain light, but it's time to subvert that lens, yeah? So who is a bad girl and what is a chick flick?
So a bad girl is just a brand, right? It's not even a real thing, you know. It's just and it's such a subjective thing, you know. What's bad to you may be good to me, and that sort of a thing. So this is a story of a girl who grows up feeling like there's something wrong with her, And then eventually she realizes that's everybody, including her mother, who's like always played by the rules. Everyone is so afraid of being called out in this world that, you know, we just try so hard to fit in. So she believes that there's something wrong with her. And that escaping that feeling pretty much forms the crux of her story, and it's about becoming comfortable in one's own skin. She does some messed up things, she does some great things, and it's just like so who's a bad girl, I don't know. Like I am still finding so one of the coolest things about getting to make this film was I have just asked a lot of questions that I have always had in my head. You know, how often do we do something and turn around and call up our best friends and like, you know, hey, am I a bad person for doing this? I don't know if boys do that a lot, which is probably why this exact story may not exist in with a male protagonist, but like, you know, hey, I'm not a bad person, right? I did this, I know it's a little messed up, but is it okay that I did that? So those sort of things.
And the looking inward happens so often.
Yeah. Also, like, you know, being self-critical and like just being so judgy about oneself, and like and something that my friend always tells me is, hey, be kind to yourself the way you would be to another person. If I did the same thing, you would not look at me that way. So I have tried to write a character, look at her from that lens, not really judging her, not really like putting her on a stand and like questioning her morals or ethics, and just like, this is what this, it is what it is. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கதை எழுதணும் தான் ட்ரை பண்ணியிருக்கேன். So who's a bad girl, I don't know. Does that even exist? I don't know. I have asked a lot of questions, and it is the journey of a girl finding all of these answers. That's what the film is all about, and it's about being soft, because even if someone does something soft, you know, you're bad, that's just not going to fix anything. And we need to talk about the fact that we live in a really bad world. We live in a really bad world, and sometimes it's impossible to be good when you're in a bad world. It's and a lot of things take community action, including like why do we do bad things? It's because our heads are not okay, right? And that comes from outside, not just from within, right? It comes from outside. So these are the questions I've tried to, just like conversations I've tried to have through the film, because you find the girl, you know, having all of these thoughts constantly, having all of these questions constantly. And to answer your second question, what's a chick flick? So chick flicks have always been considered, especially because of the Hollywood idea of a chick flick, something mindless, something without any depth, something lacking any sort of, it's glossy, it's like just glosses over realities of life. You know, people are just like, you know, they eat cupcakes and don't put on weight, that sort of a thing, right? So that's the popular definition of chick flick, which is actually not true. If you have watched a lot of chick flicks, you would notice that they try to show how lives can be really messy and like that sort of a thing. So that's what I've tried to do, you know. Chick flicks can also have a lot of philosophical depth. It can also have a lot of like questions about very serious, big questions in life. All of the big questions. We can try to find answers in chick flicks for all the, just like any other genre. It's just a label again. Bad girl is just a label. Chick flick is just a label. I think we're more than just labels, and art should be more than just labels.
Super. What are you looking forward to the most in the next few days? I mean, next many days, I think months until the release.
I don't know. I just I really look forward to stop editing, because it's been a really anxiety-inducing process to constantly second-guess myself, and like, and I don't know how to just sit back and enjoy. நான் வந்து ராட்டர்டாம்ல ஸ்க்ரீனிங் நடந்தப்போ கூட வந்து உட்காந்துட்டு நோட்ஸ் எழுதணும், அந்த மாதிரி இது பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன். அது படத்தை பாரு you know, I just want to be at one point, but I've heard like I've spoken to a lot of filmmakers, senior filmmakers also, right? And all of them are like, no, you never stop doing it. It's very normal to feel that way. So I realized that I'm not the only person going through this. That's the most amazing thing. After the trailer came out, and after I got to speak, teaser came out, and I got to speak to so many filmmakers, all of them tell me this is their experience as well. And you know, like generally on stage when you hear people speaking in their trailer launches or audio launch or like interviews, they just sound so sorted and they sound like they have it all under control. But filmmaking
Hey, so did you, honestly. I mean, that one line about...
Are you kidding? I look like I had a panic attack or something.
No, I mean...
Everyone told me that. And there are like YouTube videos being made about how I didn't carry myself well in the... So...
That's just mean. But that one line about... பெண்களை மனிதர்களாக பாருங்கள் is as simple as it's just a request, right?
And that's really what the film is about. We can't be saints all the time, and it's because for me growing up, looking at my mother, she's just so perfect in that sense because she's such a mom, right? She's like ஒரு வடை தான் இருக்குன்னா எனக்கு கொடுத்துருவாங்க. And I've always thought maybe I can't be a mother because I'll be like, no, you can maybe have half of it, but I want the rest of the vada, right? Like, but because you have to be selfless if you're a woman or if you're a mother, that sort of a thing. So கொஞ்சம் ஒரு chill பண்ணலாம் எல்லாரும் அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு zoneல ஒரு படம். So it's just a really chill film.
So what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I want to stop working on the film. That's really what I'm looking, because at some point I feel like you spend too much time with something or mari tegetidum. It's beautiful, it's sweet. I'm so grateful for this that, but I really want to have more conversations post this, and I want to see if I still feel the same way, because I think our thoughts are also evolving so much, like so I'm excited to see what next.
Perfect.
This is the first time I've ever done this, so I don't know yet. I have no idea what's going to happen. There are lots of film festivals lined up, so there's that. Like, it's not like I'll be done with the film, because pre-release and post-release there are a lot of film festivals. So I'm really looking forward to that experience, meeting more filmmakers, because Rotterdam was so much fun, you know, seeing people from different parts of the world making really cool films, and என்னென்ன கண்டிஷனில் படம் பண்ணுறாங்க, அவங்களுக்குலாம் டப்பிங்கிற கான்செப்ட் கேட்டாலே அவங்க வந்து ஷாக் ஆயிட்டாங்க. So I just want to meet more people and like talk about movies. That's...
Thank you so much for joining us, Varsha. It's been such a nice conversation. I'm really looking forward to the film, and I'm sure everyone else is too. So good luck for the movie, and we hope to see so much more conversation from you.
Thank you so much. This is my first ever interview, and I was very anxious. Thank you for like making it so easy for me.
I'm so glad.